What's up guys, Johnny here, welcome back to the channel. Today what I'm doing is I want to take a little bit of time to do a little bit of testing with my tiny whoops. And what I want to talk to you about is tiny whoop racing with acro mode versus angle mode. So I've set up a little bit of a tiny whoop track down here in my basement where the basic plan is to set up, fly a bunch of rounds, try in both acro mode and angle mode and see how I do. Do I notice any difference as far as lap times go? How's the overall feel? What is the experience like? So a little bit of why I'm doing this test is I've always been an acro guy. You know, I learned to fly in acro. I love flying acro. I don't like flying in angle mode. So even when it comes to tiny whoop racing, I only want to fly acro. If you guys have watched any of my tiny whoop videos from the past, whether it's the racing drib, whether it was the gold motor reviews, whether it was the tiny whoop flying I was doing at the Code Mash conference where I was teaching people how to fly tiny whoops, all that was done in acro mode. That's just the way I like to fly. What I noticed is that at the last couple of races though, I really got my butt handed to me by guys who were flying angle mode. If you talk to the guys that race with tiny whoop, team sponsored pilots, if you talk to Jesse Perkins, they'll all tell you everyone who wins races flies angle mode. They're also flying the standard Inductrix board, but today what I'm actually planning to do is I'm going to fly Betaflight boards, the B-Core V1, and I'm going to do that in both angle and acro mode, and I'm going to give a kind of a breakdown of that and how that works for me. So, you know, without further ado, I'm going to show you the track I've set up. It's a pretty tight course, which matches the kind of courses I typically fly at local races. And yeah, without wasting too much time, I'm going to show you the course, and then we're going to get down to racing. Alright, so I set this up in my basement. It's a little bit of a mess from when I was building the course, but anyway, what we have here is, I have a step stool right over here. This is going to be the starting point of the race. I'll start there. Once the timer goes off that the race is started, I'll fly right over here through my start and finish gate. After that, I'm going to come over here by these shelves that we put together. I'm going to treat this as a flag that I got to go around. So inside the shelves, back out the side, come down through the bottom here, go up through the top of this gate, get back over here into the middle section. We're going to go around this pole here, right here, treat that as another flag, come back around, come down through this lower gate here, pop back up, go through the top of this gate here, hard right turn, back through the start finish gate. Okay, pretty tight. This is probably about 18-20 feet total length. Width is probably somewhere around 18 feet. So overall, pretty tight course, but like I said, it's really going to stress the ability of flying in that acro mode, and it kind of matches the kind of courses that I'm flying when I'm doing local races. So without further ado, let's get on the line, let's fire up live time, and let's do some testing. Alright, so I just finished going through and I ran 5 qualifying laps for each different style of flying. So I did 5 in acro mode and 5 in angle. I alternated back and forth one to the other because I didn't want to get too familiar with one style of flying, giving that an unfair advantage. So I thought maybe if I did like 5 in angle, then 5 in acro, that might give it an advantage. So I just did them alternating back and forth, back and forth. 5 round each, 2-minute heats, and comparing the results. Now, I've had a chance to take a look at the footage of the flying, and I've also had a chance to take a look at the results of the racing, and the numbers don't lie. And, you know, I guess it goes without saying, it matches what all the experts will tell you. I did a whole lot better when I was flying in angle mode. So much better that it actually really surprises me. I always fly in acro mode. I do not fly in angle mode. This is basically the first time I've flown this thing in angle mode, and yet I still did way better. I thought it would be an unfair advantage for Team Acro because I have over a year of experience flying this thing in Acro mode. Yet it turns out the first day you flip it over and start running in angle mode, it's already a much faster little flying device for racing. It was such a drastic difference, it actually really surprised me. The way I was timing these results through these qualifying rounds is I decided I wanted to do the fastest 3 consecutive laps. So that would try to account for cases where I might crash and I might skew the total number of laps, but I figured 3 laps about shows what the most consistent results is going to be. So if I take a look at those results, I see that in round 3 I had my best result for the Acro quad, and that was 28.4 seconds. However, if I take a look at angle mode and I see in round 4, while flying angle, I had 25.05 seconds. So that's about a 3.5 second difference across 3 laps. And it's also laps where my fastest lap time was 8.2. So a 1 second difference on average across 3 consecutive laps is a huge difference around a race course. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to swallow just saying that out loud. I don't like those results. I have a lot more fun flying this thing in Acro mode. Flying Acro mode, it matches more like what I do flying outside and flying a real 5, 3-inch, 2.5-inch, 2-inch, pretty much any brushless quad. But if I want to win, when I go to tiny whoop races, I'm going to have to start flying angle modes. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with that. It is what it is. If you want to go tiny whoop racing and you want to have the best results possible, you're going to want to be flying in angle mode. I think that if I had set up a different course, maybe I could have a different result, but I've never gone to a tiny whoop race that wasn't set up for this type of angle style flying that I was just doing. I feel like where Acro mode would excel is if it was a really big track and kind of smooth turns. I feel like I would have been a bit faster in Acro mode. I noticed getting off the line was better in Acro mode. I noticed at certain points my top speed was probably better in Acro mode. But the turns and everything else was just so much crisper in angle. Really the biggest thing was my consistency. If I count the total number of laps, I think I had 14 laps in angle mode and only 11 in Acro. And it's just because it was very hard to be consistent. Just keeping those nice tight turns or in those real small areas, it just was a lot harder in Acro mode. So I was flying a B core, which means I'm flying a beta flight board which I can tune. And I know that's also not the standard that is set by Team Tiny Whoop, right? So Jesse Perkins himself, the company Tiny Whoop, they want you to be flying with Indy boards. That gives the best angle mode. So I do want to talk a little bit about the angle mode I was running with this B core. So I did take a look at Project Mockingbird for generally how to set up angle mode when running it on a B core. I didn't use all those settings, but I did use a handful of them. And what I ended up doing is on my Tyrannus, by default, I'm running Acro mode. That's what I'm usually used to. But I took one switch up here. When I flip it down, I'm now running angle mode via the Project Mockingbird settings. And what I mean is basically I took the exact race that they recommended. I think it gets up to about 1,024 or so on the roll and the pitch. And then somewhere around 670 degrees per second on the yaw. Those are all linear, and while they might be a little bit sensitive at first when you first try them, but it actually felt really, really good. I also had to tweak my mixing settings from what they recommend in Project Mockingbird, but that's basically because I'm running the gold motors here, from Newbie Drone, which are a little bit more powerful than what they recommend, and therefore my mixing had to be a little bit lower to keep getting too much altitude. So, bottom line, putting in the Project Mockingbird settings, it's a great starting point for running angle mode on a B core or other Betaflight boards. I was amazed that somebody who does not fly angle mode at all, who always races Acro mode, has all of his experience in Acro mode, just switching immediately over to angle mode, I saw a huge difference in my total lap times. Like I said, numbers don't lie. 25.05 seconds versus 28.4. That's just a huge, huge difference. Big difference in number of laps. What else can I say? If you want to do well in the tiny whoop races, start flying angle. If you aren't, chances are everybody else is already flying angle mode anyway, and I just really want to do that test, and I found those results really interesting. Hopefully you like those results too. Hopefully they're helpful to you, and as always, have fun flying, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace!